How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another One Piece card game video. My name is That Manga Nerd, and in today's video we will be going over the red color set for OP-02 Paramount War, which is set to come out on March 10th. We will be covering the other colors, including the new black color as well as the starter deck in future videos to come, but that's enough for the intro, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, the English side of the website does not have the OP-02 cards out just yet. It only has OP-01 and the starter decks. But if we were to go over to the Japanese side of the website, we actually do have a full list of all of the cards, as well as them being translated in their Google Translate thing. So if there's any mispronunciations or translation errors, we'll just have to go with it as it is. Up first, we're going to go ahead and jump into Edward Newgate, which is the new mono red leader. He's 6 life, 6,000 power, special attribute, Whitebeard Pirates, and the 4 Emperors. His effect is at the end of your turn, add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So even though he is a 6 life, if you go first, or even if you go second, so before the game can even swing at life, you're going to be down to 5. So card advantage either way. Or not necessarily card advantage. Normally if you go second, you have the card advantage, but even for this guy, if you go first, there is same card in hand. So technically if you go second, you have a 2 card lead over the opponent. Unless they're also playing Whitebeard, then you only have a 1 card advantage if you do go second. So this leader is a strong one, even taking his effect into account where you're going to lose a life every single turn. He is 6,000 power, so that means that if your opponent's leader isn't a Whitebeard and he wants to hit you for life, they have to use at least 1 Dawn. So if they use all their Dawn to play their characters, then they don't get a swing off like if it's a normal 5k leader, where just you can swing base 5 and they'll have to counter out of it, but you will have to do 6. So really strong card. It being red is Rush, and there's a lot of Whitebeard Pirates cards that are in this set that just make the Whitebeard deck really good. One thing to note for the Whitebeard leader is that at the end of your turn, when you take a life, the trigger effects on the card, if it does have a trigger effect, does not activate. The trigger only activates if your opponent's leader or character hits you and you take the life. Now he does have an alternate art where it's just the head, as we've seen in the previous set, where it's just the manga, like a manga panel of just their face in a different way. So pretty good, but it's like he's just staring at your soul. So the next card we have is Monkey D. Garp. He is a dual color leader with the black color set, red and black. So the new color set is black. So Black's whole thing is it minuses the cost of your opponent's characters on the field, and also can like KO certain cost characters. So you can lower your opponent's character. Like if they play a 7 drop, you can lower it down to 3 and then play a card that KOs 3 cost characters. This leader's effect does go in line with the black. So first off, it's a 4 life, 5,000 power. So regular dual color situation, 4 life, whatever. Strike attribute. Its effect is during your turn, so that means this effect lasts. There's no once per turn, there's nothing. It's just one when it is your turn. If this leader or one of your characters is given a Dawn card, give up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 7 or less minus 1 cost during this turn. So that really just plays into Red's ability. So I feel like the reason they made it red and black is, one, Red has the ability to use Rested Dawn. So it just says if a Dawn is given to a character or leader, so it doesn't specify it has to be an active Dawn or a rested Dawn. It's just if you attach a Dawn to a character, you minus 1 cost of a 7 cost. There's also another thing where if I don't know if it's the printed number on the card has to be 7, or if there is just a 7 cost character on the field, then you can minus. I'm pretty sure it's the latter. So if you have a card that, if it has board presence, like the Sengoku from the Treasure Cup, where if you have 1 Dawn on that Sengoku, then all your opponent's characters minus 2, that can make an 8 down to a 6, and then you could attach and lower him more. I feel like that's how it would work. So it's a pretty good leader on paper, but it didn't get a lot of play in the Japanese series. But it might change with the new black cards that have come out, or, who really knows. Now, he does have an alternate leader or alternate art where it's him, believe when Ace was getting executed, just, a panel from that. So, it's an alright leader. The effect is not great, but it's not horrible. But if you take into account he only has 4 life, then if you're going up against a Whitebeard where they can kind of rush you down and they have an extra 2 life, where then they're going to have more cards, we'll just have to see how people pick it up and play it. Might make one, but just the rush combo with the red and then the black KO, it seems pretty good, but we won't know until playtesting. Now we're going to get into the character cards. This is the first one. It's a vanilla. It's Atmos. It's a 4/6 1k counter slasher with the Whitebeard Pirates attribute. Nothing much more to say there. Just a regular vanilla. Then we have our first SR, which is a Edward Newgate card. He is a 9/10 with special attribute, no counters. The 4 Emperors and Whitebeard Pirates. This is a great card. It has an on-play effect and Dawn 2 when attacking. So the on-play, this first part is it's amazing. Up to one of your leaders gains plus 2,000 power until the start of your next turn. So if you have a Whitebeard and you put this down on, as soon as you have 9 Dawn, you put him down. That's probably what you want to do also, is you want to put him down as soon as you can. It increases you to 8,000. And then you're swinging with 8 with your leader. And then when it goes to your opponent's turn, them already having to attach a Dawn to their leader to make them 6 to even just barely swing at your leader. Now they have to make all their characters to 8 if they want to swing at your leader. Really great effect. Then it also adds that you cannot add life cards to your hand using your own effects during this turn. So pretty much this stalls you until your next turn. This almost prevents you from losing a life until the next turn, because your opponent's going to either have to choose to attach more Dawn to their characters to swing at the leader to try to take life, or build board, which more likely than not they're going to build board, because swinging at an 8,000 cost leader, unless they're running low, it's not that good of a choice. But it also has a when attacking effect. So if you have 2 Dawn on them, so it becomes a 12k. When attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. So it's pretty much getting rid of a blocker. Or you could Otama someone down and then swing 12k at a leader, KOing a higher cost blocker potentially. But this overall is a really great card, and it is a definite staple in a Whitebeard deck. Mainly because it prevents you from taking life that turn, and then it's just a big body that can pop a blocker before it swings, so could go for game right there. Now this card does have a parallel, which is just a manga, just I guess when he was standing on the ship storming the thing. So really great card, definite 2 or 3 of in a Whitebeard deck. Then we have Dedan, 2/3 1k counter slasher attribute, Mountain Bandits type. On play, look at top 5, reveal 1 red character with a cost of 1, add it to hand, then place the rest at the bottom. So just a 1 cost searcher. She's used in the Japanese Zoro decks a lot because she's able to build board pretty fast. Look for those 1 cost cards. Look for your 1/3 cards that you can put one Dawn on the Zora leader, make him the 4, then attach one Dawn to the character to make him 5. I could also see her being used in law decks. Another searcher that's low that could potentially be used for an attack with just attaching 2 Dawn, and also let you look for a chopper or a 1/3 or potentially another card that we're going to get to in a minute. So all in all, it's a searcher that just makes it a good card to begin with, and then it also has a counter power, so it's just good in hand if you not seeing a need to play her. But all in all, a good card. Next we have King Do, or another vanilla 5/7 striker, 1000 counter, Whitebeard Pirates. Nothing much more to say there, just a normal vanilla. Then we have another vanilla Thatch, a 6/8, Wisdom, 1k counter, Whitebeard Pirates. Again, nothing much to say there, just a vanilla. Then we have Jozu, our first 2k in the set. It is a 4/4 striker attribute, Whitebeard Pirates. Its effect is Dawn ×1. If you have 2 or less life and your leader's types include Whitebeard Pirates, this character gains Rush. So it's a fairly situational card. If you draw it early game, you're going to be playing this in a Whitebeard deck. You're not going to be playing this in any other deck because the Rush ability is locked in on the Whitebeard Pirates. Maybe when the third set comes out and we get the Ace Captain, maybe he could be played in that. But you're going to be playing him in a Whitebeard deck. If you get him first, if you get him opening hand, maybe you can use him for a 2k counter if you really need to kind of stall out the game. But more likely than not, you want to see him later in the game where you're at the 2 or less life, 2, 1, or 0 life, and you need someone that can use Rush, and he's cheap per se, but also I would rather run a Zoro for 3/5 that has Rush, or even a Luffy, unblockable Luffy from the starter deck. Just 2 better options, but him having the 2k, I could see him being used just because early game he can be used for the counter, and then late game he can be used for Rush. So it just really come down to how you want to build your Whitebeard deck. I would probably see him putting him in a Whitebeard deck. Next we have Squard. It is he's a 3/5 slasher attribute, Whitebeard Pirate allies. Effect is on play. If your leader includes Whitebeard Pirates, give one of your opponent's characters -4 power during this turn and add 1 card from the top of your life cards to your hand. So this card's effect is tied to Whitebeard as of right now. It's tied to Whitebeard, and you're already going to be losing a life at the end of the turn. So the turn you play him, yes, he is giving someone -4, which isn't bad, but you're also going to be losing a life. You'll be losing 2 life the turn that he's played. That doesn't really offset, like the -4,000 doesn't really make him better, because even if you play him turn 2, you're losing 2 life at the beginning of the game. I don't really see how he could be utilized. Maybe if you need to get a jet pistol off on someone that's annoying for -4, I guess. But a better option would be Otama jet pistol on someone, or 2 Otamas and jet pistol. I just don't see him being used at all. I'm not going to use him. So he does get a parallel. It looks cool, I guess, but I'll only really want one of this guy just for the collector sake. But I don't see, maybe he might be useful later. I also don't think that a card that prevents you, like there is an event card that prevents you from taking a life if you have 3 or less life, which we'll get to. I'm pretty sure it's it's like in tandem. Maybe it's not. Maybe when you play that event card, it prevents you from taking a life. Then it makes this guy a little bit better. But still, it's like if you don't have that event card, you have him in hand. He's just a dead card because there's no counter. So, I don't know. Then we have Dogura, a 1/2 counter slasher. Mountain Bandits. His his effect is activate main. You rest him. Play one red character other than Dogura with a cost of 1 from your hand. So this is a good card for Dadan to search for. Mainly because he can't be searched off of any other red searchers that's in the game, i.e. just Nami. So also he allows you to then play another card, another 1 cost for cheap. So this guy is a good turn 1 card. Play him down. First turn, get 1 done, play him down, rest him, play someone else. Because then when it goes to your opponent's side, your opponent can't attack him. There's just no way for him to be off the field. And then your turn, he gets restand, and then you can either rest him again and play someone else for just free, or, save him and use him later down. It's just, it's overall a good card for first turn. And then even if you get him late game, he's not horrible because he has a 1k counter. So I could definitely see him being put in a Law deck as well as a Zoro deck. Maybe a Whitebeard deck, but Law or Zoro, I see him going in. So next we have Vista, a 3/3 1k counter slasher. Whitebeard Pirates. On play, KO one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. So this, in my opinion, is a better Nico Robin, just because when he's put down, he KOs a 3,000 power. So he could be played in any red deck, basically, because he's good in hand, good on play. Definitely a Law addition, and could also be just seen in just red decks in general. Starter deck, Luffy, Whitebeard, Garp, I guess, but just a really good red card. Then we have Blenheim, a 2/3 blocker, Whitebeard Pirates slasher attribute. Just, a higher power blocker for, not that much more. So just, a good card. No counter, so yeah. Then we have Ace, a 7/7 special attribute, Whitebeard Pirates. His effect is on play. Give 2 of your opponent's characters minus 3,000 power during this turn. Then, if your leader includes Whitebeard Pirates, this character gains rush during this turn. So a definite add to a Whitebeard deck, mainly because he could be played in other decks, but the second half of his ability wouldn't be utilized. So it's kind of like he's locked in on a Whitebeard deck. Him being 7 cost, I could see him maybe being 3 of in a deck. I don't know about 4, but definitely at least 2. Him being able to give minus 3,000 to 2 people on the turn that he's played, really good, because that could put him in range of a Vista, and also if you have a 10 cost Whitebeard, and then him being able to swing 7k at leader on the turn that he's played could go for game. So you could give minus 2,000 to 2 characters, one of them being a blocker, put down a Vista for 3, making that the 10 Dawn, pop that blocker, and then swing for 7 at lead. And 7's kind of that magic number because they'll have to use at least 2 cards or 1 high cost or 1 4K event. But either way, they're going to have to use cards to counter out of it just because it's 7, more than 2. Now this card does have 2 versions of its parallel. This is the first one. This one's kind of common, but not super common. You're more likely going to pull this guy. Pretty nice. I think this is when him and Luffy are standing next to each other. And then we have the manga parallel. So Ace is the manga parallel for the second set. Really good card. Just nice overall. It will definite, chase, just like the Shanks. You get him, when he was dying. First time we see him and Luffy meet. him as a kid here. I feel like there's a panel in here somewhere where he's fighting Blackbeard, but just a really beautiful card. Next card we have is Whitey Bay, 1/2, 1k counter, slasher. Whitebeard Pirate's ally. Her effect is Dawn times 1. This character can also attack your opponent's active characters. So it is a cheaper Frankie that can swing at blockers. She can also be played off of Dogora from turn 1. So if you have Whitey Bay and Dogora in hand, play Dogora for 1, rest him, play Whitey Bay. And most people, including myself, turn 1, we're going to want to play blockers. So if I go first and I do this, and then my opponent goes, he just puts down a blocker, and that's all he can do. I then swing. I attach 1 Dawn to Whitey Bay and swing if I want to. It also works late game as well. If all they have, they're gonna try to block and all that stuff. You got 3,000 and it can swing at a blocker, and you can put them out for free. She's a really good card. I really interested to see how she plays in the sets. I will try to build a deck with her, hopefully. Then we have Makano, the star of Zoro decks that I've seen in Japan. She's a 0/1 wisdom, 2k counter in hand, windmill village type. Her effect is activate main. You may rest this character. Up to one of your red characters with a cost of 1 gains plus 3,000 during this turn. So she's used a lot for, like I said, Zoro decks, where you put out a bunch of 1/3s. You play her, you rest her. That 1/3 is now 1/6, 1 Dawn on the Zoro leader, and now it's a 1/7, which is crazy. Just that fact. So she's also good hand presence if for some reason you don't need to play her. She also works really well with the law deck because you're able to play her, rest her, increase a 1 cost, and then pick her up back to hand, or with the leader effect or with the blocker law, and restand her and have her there for next turn, or use her ability again and make your 1/3 up to 6, or your 1/3 up to 6, and then do that little combo to restand and make it a 1/9. So technically a 1/10 with the Zora leader. So definitely could see it going in a law deck, but like I said, it has been played in Zoro decks. So all in all, a good card. Next we have Magura, a 1/2 slasher, mountain bandits. On play, up to one of your red characters with a cost of 1 gains plus 3,000 power during this turn. So potentially a better card than Makano because it is an on-play effect. Better for a law deck, I feel. But it essentially does the same thing, but you have a 2k power. So if you wanted to increase him to swing, you don't have to dump so much into him. You could even on play plus 3,000 to one of your 1-cost characters, and then next turn play Makano and increase him to 5, technically 6 with a Zoro. So little thing right there, but decent card. There's going to be a lot of Zoro decks that are going to be running in locals, just because there's a lot of, you want to build board fast with Zoro and then boost all your characters, and these 2 characters that we just went over are designed for boosting low cost characters. So definite add to a Zoro, potential add to a Law. Next one is Masked Deuce. It's a 2/3 2k counter, wisdom, Spade Pirates, Dawn 2, when attacking, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 2,000 power or less. So he becomes a 5k on swing, and he can KO a low cost blocker. So just kind of something to have on the field, swing with for 5, potentially maybe make him 6, 3 Dawn. KO a blocker and maybe go for life, or just get rid of a blocker on field and then use law, pick him up, or just have him there, because any card that can get rid of or any card that can attack two different targets at one time is a good card in my opinion. So he does get a parallel. So I guess this is like considered an original illustration because I don't think he's ever been adapted into anime. I could be wrong, but it's a good looking card overall. Next card we have is Marco. It's a 4/5 1k counter special attribute Whitebeard Pirates. His effect is he's a blocker, and he has an on KO effect where you may trash one card with a type including Whitebeard Pirates from your hand. If you have 2 or less life cards, play this character from your trash rested. So this is the first card that we're seeing where you can trash one card of a certain type and then do the effect after. It is also limited to having 2 or less life, so it is it's a late game ability. Mid game for Whitebeard leader, but it's a pretty good effect, especially for Whitebeard, just in general, because one, if you're playing Whitebeard, you're gonna have a lot of Whitebeard pirate characters just because they work really well with the leader Whitebeard. And 2, you're gonna have a lot of cards in hand because you're drawing 2 cards every turn after first turn. If you go second, you're drawing 2 cards every turn, one from life and one from your deck. So your hand size is gonna be pretty big. So restanding, it could be last swing of your opponent. You rest him, you let him get KO'd, you then trash a Whitebeard Pirates card, and he gets played rested again. So then you have a blocker next turn, and you don't have to waste Dawn, or you don't have to allocate Dawn to playing another blocker because he's still there because you just trashed a random event card, or just some card you don't need, a vanilla, if you have a vanilla in your decks for some reason. So really great card, really great art. And then he also does get a parallel, which just looks a little nicer. More fames. I'm kind of more of a fan of this one over the parallel, but that's just my opinion. The next card we have is Rakuyo. He's a 3/4 1k counter striker, Whitebeard Pirates. His effect is down ×1 during your turn. All of your characters with a type, including Whitebeard Pirates, gain plus 1,000 power. So this is a very strong card. Him just being on the board, almost every other card we've looked at in this video is a Whitebeard Pirates. So it's just if you go back and look at them, just increase them by 1. Every single one of them, just plus 1. So the 10 cost Whitebeard, him being on the field makes it an 11k Whitebeard, and then you put 2 Dawn on him for his KO effect when attacking, a 13k Whitebeard swinging at lead. It could go for game. Even the ace, just if you have 8 Dawn, you play ace for 7, attach 1 Dawn to this guy. Or even if you only have 7, you play ace for 7. If you have a Nami that can use rested Dawn, you use the rested Dawn onto this guy, and then you're swinging with 8 at lead for rush. This guy is really good. I didn't see him used a lot in the Japanese tournament or the Japanese league, but it's just a base plus 1 to your entire field. And if for some reason you're using Whitebeard Pirates, or if you're using a lot of Whitebeard Pirates in Zoro, it's a plus 2 to your entire field for free. Great card. Next card we have is Little Oars Jr., 7/9, 1k counter. He's a giant and Whitebeard Pirates ally. Regular old, vanilla. Nothing much to say. Really good art, though. I like the different seasons. It's spring, summer, fall, winter. Really nice. Our first event is Seaquake. So 1 cost, 4 Emperors and Whitebeard Pirates. The main effect is if your leader includes Whitebeard Pirates, KO one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. So it's a free KO. It's a free blocker KO for just 1. Definitely want to include 4 of in your Whitebeard deck, just because, you know, you're going to be losing a life every single turn. You don't want to have to deal with blockers, or the low cost blockers. Just get rid of them. Its trigger is give one of your opponent's leaders or character cards minus 3,000 power during this turn. So not a horrible trigger. Would maybe want to save it for an effect unless you really want to, and maybe they have a 10 cost on their field. You get hit with one of their lows, you make their 10 cost down to 7, and now you don't have to use that many cards in hand. So not a bad trigger, really, not a bad effect, just definite 4 of in a Whitebeard deck. Next one we have here is Whitebeard Pirates. It's a 1-cost event searcher. The activate main, look at top 5, reveal 1 character card, including Whitebeard Pirates, and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck. Its trigger is activate the main effect. So it's essentially a searcher Nami for Whitebeard Pirates. Definite 4 of in the deck, just because it lets you look for a card that you might, it's just, a searcher. So the next card we have is You May Be a Fool, But I Still Love You. It's a 1-cost event. Its main is if you have 3 or less life cards, you cannot add life cards to your hand using your own effects. Then its trigger is up to one of your leaders gains plus 1,000 during this turn. So its trigger effect, you're going to want to use this card for its main effect. Its trigger effect is only really useful, I guess, if it's the last card you draw from your life from getting hit, just to increase your leader by 1 more. It's a definite 4 of in a Whitebeard deck, just because you could potentially stop yourself around that 3 life threshold and kind of hover there. You're not going to want to use this trigger if it's the first life, or the first life that you take from game. You do not want to use the trigger. 1, most likely because their opponent's out of attacks, and then 2, because you want to stall around that 3 life area if you're not able to play Whitebeard, or use this to wait until next turn to play Whitebeard. So trigger is not bad, but you're going to want to use this for main. And then the last card we have is a stage card, the Moby Dick. It's a 2-cost. Its effect is your turn. If you have 1 or less life cards, your Edward Newgate and all of your characters with a type, including Whitebeard Pirates, gains plus 2,000 power during this turn. So this, and then its trigger is play this card. So this is a really great stage card for Whitebeard. You're going to be running out of life fairly quickly. You're also going to be having a lot of Whitebeard Pirate characters, as well as a 10-cost Edward Newgate on your field. And your leader is also going to be Edward Newgate. So when you get to that 1 life threshold, you could play the event card that stalls you at 1. For the 1-cost event that we just went over, you could play that and hover yourself at 1, but then have this stage on the field. Your leader is now a base 8k. You play a Whitebeard, your leader is now a base 10k. And your Whitebeard next turn is a base 12k. Your ace that you play for 7 is a 9k. Really great card for Whitebeard Pirates. There is a black event card that does KO stage cards, so you do want to keep that in mind. So maybe having 2 of this in your Whitebeard deck isn't a bad idea, just in case they do play that card that does get rid of the stage, but then you can just play another, and it's a really strong card for your turn. So that is all of the red character, leader, and event cards that are going to be coming out in the second set. In the next video, we're going to be going over the green color set, so keep an eye out for when that one comes. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching.